If you want to get your bachelor's degree in Adiktology at the first faculty of medicine in Prague, you will need to go through at least 6 internships. And at first, the idea of internships might be a bit scary. How would you choose the facility? How can you handle the communication with the facility? Will anyone let you do your internship at their company? How to manage your time? In this video, I'd like to tell you a bit about what you can expect from these internships and in return what is expected of you. Plus, I want to tell you a bit about the internships I chose and how they went. I also threw in a couple of tips on how to finish the internships and the subsequent reports you have to write. And of course, don't just blindly follow anything I say in this video and check that it is still relevant and true to whatever you study. I finished my degree in 2020, so things might have changed since then. First, let's take a look at some basic info. I found this in the Manual to Internships 2020. You can find this document in SIS if you study at Charles University. I don't think I can distribute it, but let's take a look at some general points you can find in the document. In your first semester, you will have the opportunity to attend a meeting with the supervisor of your internships. Technically, you don't have to go to this meeting, but it is strongly recommended. You will get the information about this meeting, for example, where and when it is happening, to your faculty emails, so don't forget to check it from time to time. Or you can change your email address in SIS to receive emails from school to your personal email address, and I did it and it was a lifesaver. And since we are recommending stuff, I also think you should join your classmates in some kind of group. We had a Facebook group with my classmates, and I know Facebook is for old people, but it was actually great because we had a unified place where we could share information. If it's even a little bit possible, I recommend you go to this meeting. It's a great opportunity to meet with your classmates, and having great relationships with your classmates can help you a lot. You can really benefit from a study support group. And let's not forget that you will actually be able to ask questions about the internships. When you study the bachelor's Addictology program, you have to take this internship class every year. Or, as they call it in SIS, Practicing in Selected Facility class. The class is usually split into 2 parts depending on the type of facility you have to choose. Expect to need about 80 hours per year or 40 hours in each facility, and that means 1 work week, or you can choose to do the internship in smaller chunks over the course of the year if you manage to get 40 hours in total. In the last year, it's actually 40 plus 80, so you'll need an extra work week. It's a huge time commitment, but it's also a great opportunity to see what kind of work you can do as an addictologist. The type of service you need to choose is dependent on the year you're in. In your first year, you need to do 40 hours in a low-threshold treatment program that applies harm reduction practices. That means you would probably choose some kind of center or join a street work team. You will have to spend the other 40 hours in a psychiatric hospital, and in your first year, this is a psychiatric hospital that does not deal with addiction. In your second year, you can choose out of 4 different types of services, but again, you need 40 and 40 hours in each one of them. You can choose from an outpatient program, inpatient program, and you can also go to a therapeutic community or aftercare center. But to be fair, you can also do the therapeutic community and the aftercare center in your 3rd year, so maybe that would be a better option. That's what I did. Now, in your 3rd year, aftercare is obligatory and you need to do 40 hours in a facility of your choice, plus you need 80 hours elsewhere. And I hope you can see from this short summary that getting these internships is incredibly time-consuming. If you work, you might need to spend some of your PTO on these internships instead of going on a nice vacation. Plus, you need to write these reports from each of these facilities, and they need to be good enough, so that's more time you have to sacrifice on the altar of getting the degree. But how would you even go about choosing a facility? Well, you won't ever get into a situation when you did your hours in some facility and then you can't use the experience, because if you follow the protocol, you need to write a proposition, where do you want to go and what do you want to see. And the internship supervisor has to accept your plan. But okay, how do you choose a facility for this proposition? Well, regarding services that have anything to do with addiction, there's a list on the Map of 8 website, and you can also find a list of facilities on the Addictology website, and you can find the links to these in the video description. A lot of facilities also have contracts with your faculty and they plan their capacity for internships for the year. And I will tell you more about how I chose each of the facilities when I get to that part of the video, and the section starts at this timestamp. But first, let's take a look at some tips. And of course, do as I say, not as I do. Or do not make your own mistakes and learn from those. Anyways, these are things that I think I should have done to make these internships a bit smoother. Number 1, this is the pro tip. Start your internship as soon as possible. The thing about internships is that it takes a lot of time to complete them, and not only for you, but also for the facility. The facility needs to invest resources and time in you, and they need to have a person who will mentor you. Oftentimes, there's only like 1 or 2 students at the same time. There's about 60 Adiktology students in each class, although sometimes people quit before finishing the program. And Adiktology students aren't the only students who will need to complete some of these internships. So if you have your eyes set on a facility, contact them sooner, not later. Otherwise, they will just run out of capacity, or they will not have time for you at all, or you might have to wait for a couple of months. Plus, as the year progresses, you will have more work from other classes and you need to write more reports, more papers, and take some exams. The earlier you finish these internships, the sooner you can move on to other tasks. And I also have a pro tip for you. Don't deliver the report a day before the hard deadline. Don't ask me how I know. And also, if you want to wait till summer to do your internships, you better believe that other people are also waiting for summer to do theirs, because unfortunately going to an internship does not excuse you from the rest of your classes, so summer is really popular and you might not be able to get in. Tip number 2. Take notes during the internship. Do you think you will remember it? Do you really think that? It's a trap. You will never remember. Take notes. Did something interesting happen? Write it down. Did you have a groundbreaking thought? Write it down. Even if it's just a short memo in your Apple Notes, and of course if you're on a group therapy or something, don't just pull up your phone. Ask the therapist if it's okay to bring a notepad and ask everyone if they're comfortable with you writing down notes. And the last tip, the third tip, is also very reasonable. Start working on your report as soon as you finish or even during the internship. Okay, I get it, this is one of these things that's easier said than done. But most internships don't really have the time to entertain you all day long, and instead of sipping coffee or hiding in the bathroom to play games on your phone, you could start working on your report. Or at the very least, write something down when you get home. Everything is still fresh in your memory, even though your energy levels are probably down, but suck it up, and once you get that credit, you can rest. Remember, you can't edit an empty page. And now, let's finally move to the main section of this video. I will tell you about my experience. What facilities did I choose and why? Let's find out. I completed 2 internships in my first year, one in a low-threshold treatment center and one in a psychiatric hospital. For the low-threshold treatment center, I chose Kottagecore in Sokolov. My reasoning for choosing this was pretty simple. One of my classmates offered me the position, and not only that, but I could also sleep at her place, and that was a great offer for a poor student. Now, as I said, don't leave your internships for the last minute. I tried this adrenaline-driven path in my first year, and I did this internship in late July, but finished the report in September, only a day before the hard deadline. Can't recommend. But I absolutely loved the experience. It was my first encounter with a job that's not in fast food, so I was fascinated, and I also loved the low threshold and harm reduction concepts, and to this day I'm a huge fan of harm reduction. My goal was to get to know the facility and understand how it works, and also to see the straight work part of it. And I did the whole round, so I went through the paperwork, talking to clients, shadowed workers, I joined the street working party, and I crushed all of my goals. What I did not crush was the quality of my report. Reading this one was embarrassing. But if you want to know more about how low-threshold treatment centers work, I created a whole video on that you can watch. Now, for my psychiatric hospital experience, I'm fairly sure I did my internship in Thomeyer Hospital in Prague, in a department that specializes on children. But for some reason I couldn't find my report nor the proposition. I do remember that I enjoyed this internship. Of course, you can't really enjoy working with sick children, but overall, good experience. The healthcare professionals were really nice, the kids were even nicer, and they wanted to tell me everything and show me their stuff and play games. And I also know I did this internship in summer, because I distinctly remember one boy telling me that he's there on a summer camp. No, I didn't have the heart to tell him, and also it wasn't my position. And of course, I don't know the details and I don't want to judge, but personally, I would choose a different way of communicating this to my child. Anyways, I chose this facility because one of my classmates recommended it. And of course, working with children is incredibly difficult, so I wasn't able to join any individual therapy sessions or anything, but I did join the group activities and it was still interesting. In the second year, you can choose to go to an in-person facility that focuses on addiction. I learned from my mistakes and I did this one in February. And I was very lucky because I could do my internship in Červený Dvůr, and Červený Dvůr is an inpatient psychiatric hospital that focuses on addiction. It's located near Český Krumlov, which itself is a very lovely town, and if I remember correctly, getting this internship was not easy at all. The hospital is really picky about who they let in, and you need to find a partner and do the internship in 2 people, and even though my partner could not go in the end, they let me do it anyway. In this hospital, there are 4 groups of patients. One is for detoxification and the other 3 are for the treatment program. 2 of these are men only, 1 is for women. They only offer 4 days for the internships, so you start on Tuesday and you finish on Friday, and I had the opportunity to attend most of the group activities such as group therapy. And I absolutely loved this internship. The castle is beautiful, the program is well thought out, I love the way the current director leads the hospital, and I even got the opportunity to meet the guy and speak to him, and let's just say I'm impressed. And if you can get in, I just can't recommend this psychiatric hospital enough. If I ever needed an in-person program for myself or for someone close to me, I would push for this one, even though wait times can be long. I did my outpatient internship in Laxus in Mladá Boleslav, and the reason for choosing this one was also pretty straightforward. I was working part-time in a different department and I got this opportunity to enhance my skills. This was the only internship I finished by going for only an hour a week, because this program was a support group for people who have been able to abstain for at least 2 months. And maybe it's because I knew the clients better, maybe it's because the stakes were higher because I was working at a center, but this report was the first report I read for this video I finally see some development in. To be honest, reading my reports from the other internships was partially funny, partially embarrassing, and I struggled to understand what was important, what sorts of interaction should I describe, and how to handle the whole thing. But this report shows that I grew both as a student and a future addictologist, and also as a person. And honestly, it started me thinking that maybe I was just too young to study in the first year. In my second year, I also opted in for an extra internship. And in August, I had the great opportunity to go to the Government Council for the Coordination of Addiction Policy. And now this was something different, and I think I got this opportunity because they offered it to the Adiktology students via email, and for me this was the best internship of all internships I did. I finally saw something else, something that's not working with clients, and yeah, sure, working with clients is a massive part of what an addictologist does, but it's not for everyone. This internship took 2 weeks, so 80 hours, but I only needed 1 week to get the credit. And I got various minor tasks such as monitoring the news for a specific topic, I helped with creating a library for media contacts, and I collected questionnaires and did a little bit of data entry. And my favorite task so far was collecting information about how individual European countries handle ads, specifically ads for alcohol. And to be honest, Czechia is pretty lacking in this area, and I want to create a whole video about this topic, so if it's something that you find interesting, consider subscribing to my channel. For me, this internship was a very good match and something I enjoyed, and I could imagine actually working there. And of course, the people were very nice, and I feel like in this field, people are usually very nice. Now my third year was complicated. I needed to finish the internships, and suddenly one day a mysterious illness spread around the world, and you know how the story goes. Everything closed down, quarantine, social distancing. Unfortunately, no exceptions were offered from the school, so I was nervous if I was even able to finish everything on time and get my degree as planned. I was lucky to go to a therapeutic community before COVID started, and I went there in February 2020, so it was close. I chose Mukashov White Light in Ústecký Kraj because one of my classmates recommended it. This community aims to prepare clients for regular life. They teach them essential life skills, and the clients learn how to take care of their physical and mental health, how to deal with relationships and interpersonal conflict, how to deal with crisis, and how to take responsibility for your own actions. And this type of treatment requires high motivation levels from the clients and, of course, complete abstinence. Now, when a client starts their journey in this community, they have no contact with the outside world, but this rule is slowly relaxed as they complete individual sections of the program, and towards the end, the client is actually encouraged to interact with the world outside. And the community also works with the client's family if they're interested. In this community, clients actively participate in household chores, and they also need to do this sort of work therapy. So they cook and clean and take care of domestic animals and keep the fireplace warm. But more about communities in a specialized video. And again, from reading this report, you can see how much I've grown. The report actually makes sense. Now, if you remember, in the third year, you actually need some extra hours in a facility of your own choice. And I was fortunate enough to work in a low-threshold treatment program a year before, and I could use this experience. And I worked at the center part-time for 4 months, and if you remember Laxus and Mladá Boleslav I mentioned earlier, this is it. Once again, choosing this one was simple. They needed to find someone to work for them, and I was looking for a job. So I took it on as a part-time job for 3 days a week. And I really wanted to do this job regardless of whether I could use this experience for my internship or not, so this was just something extra. And with everything else finished, I only needed to complete my 40 hours in Aftercare, and normally this wouldn't be an issue. But in 2020, everything was an issue. With the whole world on lockdown, you just can't walk into a facility and be like, hey, I'm here for an internship. But I needed to take this credit so I could take the state exam and get my degree. Now, it took such a long time before the world opened again. I needed to finish my molecular biology classes and my Adiktologie classes in just a couple of months, as I planned to finish both degrees that year. And I was so lucky this facility even accepted me, and I didn't have to wait for a whole year to finish my degree. I had every day planned hour by hour, can't recommend. Anyways, I did my last internship in Chrpa in Mníšek pod Brdy, which specializes on dual diagnosis, so people with substance use disorder and some other mental health issue. In this facility, most people suffered from schizophrenia. Now, working with these clients requires a special approach, but this is an aftercare program, so the clients already went through some treatment and are mostly there to get their life skills and support. For example, clients have work therapy, and towards the end of the treatment, they usually work at least part-time. And the program uses DBT, dialectic behavior therapy, which helps the client acquire some life skills. And it was interesting to meet these people on a personal level, but also on an academic level, because it was a new type of client I've never worked with before. And while I enjoyed this internship, I suffered so bad because I had to catch a bus every day at 5:30 in the morning, and I was so sleep deprived and tired and stressed, and I don't think I used this opportunity to the whole potential, but it's just what it is. I didn't have time. And to be honest, this was a great script to write. I would have never read any of my reports otherwise, and if you already finished schools, I can only recommend you read your reports. You can see things with fresh eyes, and you can see how you grew. The first reports are so bad, it's embarrassing, but the final ones aren't that bad, and the internships played a role in my worldview and who I turned out to be as a person, and I'm glad I got this experience and I tried various Adiktologie positions. These internships can be the first step that helps you decide what you want to do with your life and connect with other people who already work in the field, and who knows, it might even give you your first work opportunity. And I'm also happy with the facilities I chose. There are 2 more things I wanted to experience, primary prevention and jail, but you don't actually need these services, and while I think getting an internship in primary prevention would be possible, I doubt the services that offer addiction treatment in jails actually offer internship positions. But that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, you learned something new and useful and interesting, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask your internship supervisor. Of course, if you want to know something that's specific to maybe me or something that's a bit general, you can ask in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. but anything specific to your program, I will not know that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.